that niche that you find, the earlier you find that, the better off you're going to be. When I say dumb luck, I already knew my niche. I spoke their language. I felt their struggles and their pain points because those were my struggles and pain points. And I think if you have a friend that owns a business of a industry you want to work in, see if you can shadow them if you speak their language and you learn their actual pain points throughout the day, you're in such a better position to be able to speak the language to the next business owner that inquires about your services.
I'm really excited for our guest today, Josh Crouch. So Josh comes from the HVAC industry with zero experience as an agency owner. And now he has an agency that is 2025 closing in on $6.5 million in annual revenue. Josh is also the host of the Service Business Mastery podcast, his agency Relentless, and has a real spirit of giving a ton of knowledge in a lot of different areas. So without further ado, I welcome to the show, Josh Crouch, man. How you doing?
Good, Patric. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. I'm thrilled to have you on here. From a lot of the listeners' perspective and agencies all over the world, like you have a large agency, and it may not feel that way when you kind of look back on all the things you had to do to get there. So I'm really excited to kind of unpack some of the stuff that has led to you guys getting to where you are. So can we just start off, Josh? Can you just tell me how you got to this spot and like, what's your journey?
Yeah, so my journey started kind of with dumb luck. I was in the HVAC industry, and we were part of a coaching group, and I started doing a massive deep dive at the third HVAC company that I worked on Google Business Profiles. I'm talking massive deep dives into 100-page ebooks, webinars, videos, newsletters, like whatever I could get my hands on, because I was looking at the data inside of our field service management software, and I'm like, man, our average ticket on these jobs that come in from the Google Business Profile are awesome. So how can I get more of these? And so that really led a really deep learning experience for myself on how to optimize for that. And so I started sharing stuff that was working for us in this best practice group. There's like 300 business owners in there. And I started having some people reach out and be like, hey, man, I've been seeing your stuff. Looks like you guys are doing great. Can you help me? And being the opportunist that I am, I'm like, well, sure. I've always wanted to own my own business. I actually thought it was going to be an HVAC company at some point, because that's where all my experience was at that stage in my career. But I took this as an opportunity to like see what I could do. I have never worked at an agency. I didn't even know what some of the positions, the titles, like I've had to ask really seemingly dumb, naive questions to people because there's just things I just didn't know. But finding that, and I'm sure people have heard this advice, and I'll take it a little step further, but that niche that you find, the earlier you find that, the better off you're going to be. Because when I say dumb luck, I already knew my niche. I spoke their language. I felt their struggles and their pain points because those were my struggles and pain points. And I think if you have a friend that owns a business of a industry you want to work in, see if you can shadow them if you speak their language and you learn their actual pain points throughout the day, you're in such a better position to be able to speak the language to the next business owner that inquires about your services. And so that took off for us. So our first 30 or 35 clients were all HVAC. That's all we did was HVAC. And then from there, just like any agency, as soon as you open your doors and you start doing something, can you help me with social media? Can you help me with my website? Can you help me with ads or PPC or what, like everything? And I didn't know enough about that stuff as a marketer myself. So I told everybody no. And all we did was Google Business Profile Management. That's all we did. And that was for the first 15 to 18 months. And we got it to a point where I was able to quit my job because we had enough income where I could at least pay myself enough, not what I was getting paid, but enough to see this thing through. But I think all too often, especially in marketing, because it's digital and we know we can figure it out, right? We're a very resourceful group of people. And now we have ChatGPT to like supercharge our information and knowledge, but stick to what you know, get really, really, really good at something. One thing, maybe two things at most, keep sharing the results from that. Because now 5 years later, I get people asking me questions all the time, not even from our target market of like Google Business Profile questions, because we're seen as one of the experts for the home service industry with that specific thing. And then that leads to other conversations, and then we're able to upsell services and do those sorts of things. But it's because we had such a fine specialty, almost like I don't know. I'll go back and forth between niche and niche. We'll have to debate that a different time, but it's like a niche within a niche, really, because we only did one thing for a very specific subgroup of people, and we got really good at it. And then we started expanding after that point.
I love this advice. I think it's fantastic. I would love to unpack this a little bit more. So you working in the HVAC space, you noticed that a certain type of lead was coming through the Google Business Profile. That's what you had mentioned, right? What was that? Was that like a keyword that it's like HVAC installation was leading to bigger jobs? Can you just explain that a little more?
I don't know if I got that deep into it. I just knew that people were converting because we had a tracking number. We were using Service Titan at the time, and we had a tracking number associated. So we had different things set up for different campaigns, and I would look at the what's called the campaign summary report every month, and I was seeing like the average ticket of these jobs it was way more than other stuff that we were doing, postcards, other just normal stuff that companies do. And I was like, there's got to be more to this. Like, there's got to be a way to do more and expand the radius. That's what I started learning about heat maps and stuff like that. And then I still remember like the first several times I started sharing before and after heat maps, people were like, what is this? Because this is 5 years ago. Like now you see these things everywhere on Facebook, but 5 years ago, at least in the home services space, everybody was talking about websites and website SEO. But I had data that showed me that this is where I needed to put my focus. And it's gone very well since that point. Because I was talking about something different that they weren't familiar with. And then the heat map stuff it takes a complicated topic. It makes it really simple to understand. Like if it's green, it's good. It's yellow, it's not. So it's okay. Red's bad. Like
Right.
Everybody, I think, understands the stoplight system there. And it made it really easy. And all of a sudden it was something new, something fresh. And people are like, what is this guy talking about? Like you can do this for your Google Business Profile. And then we started getting into like multiple Google Business Profiles and the strategy behind that. So people really resonate with that stuff because mostly what they get told by marketing agencies when they say, hey, I need more leads, the rebuttal is you need to spend more money. And while that's still true, if we manage another Google Business Profile, it's a lot less money than throwing another 5 or 10 grand at paid ads or doing something else with Facebook ads or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always look at it like we can run profitable campaigns through the paid ads, but there's going to be 2, 3, 4 times more traffic that's going to go through the Google Maps than the paid ads. And we're not paying for this on a per click basis or on a per lead basis. So if we can rank really well here, like this is going to set us up to, like this is the lion's share of the leads are coming through this area. I'm not willing to give that part of it up of the search results. I feel like we have to own that part.
Yeah. And I mean, I have data with just our calls between like website conversions and Google Business Profile conversions. And I also had this backed up by an independent third-party company that focuses on revenue analytics for the trades. So essentially, they're able to track through call rail and other mechanisms on the front end where the lead originally came in from, track it through the FSM program, field service management, and then see the revenue at the end of the job. So they're really able to connect the dots because I know that's a big blind spot in a lot of industries because there's just so much people touch stuff and then they reclassify something and the data is not accurate. And it's about 80 to 82% of conversions and revenue comes through the Google Business Profile. And so for me, it was like, we still have to talk about websites because there's ranking benefits from your website and people still do convert on the website, but a lot of the shopping is done on, especially for local businesses. Obviously that's changing a little bit with some, AI search stuff, but local businesses is hands down Google Business Profile.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So, Josh, what are the top things that you're doing as a part of the Google Business Profile optimization that you think is really driving the results?
Well, my answers changed through the years. I would say for the last 2 years, I would say the top three things. One, before we ever bring on a client, we make sure that they have a physical location. We literally will tell people we won't work with them if they have an SAB, and why. Because, and usually we're the first person that has ever told them that. And they're like, wait, what do you mean? And so, and for us, it's a way for us also to differentiate ourselves because nobody's talking about it. Because they're like, well, yeah, I'll sign you up for $1,500 to $2,500 a month. And knowing that the algorithm is literally working against you with how you have set up. So that's one. Number two, I actually just got a question from a landscape company prior to this recording. His address is outside the city limits and it's not in a great location. So the other thing we talk about before we bring on a client is where are the right type of customers located for you, and try to figure out a location that makes sense. Now, we're not always able to do that initially, but they do come in knowing that if you really want to make this work, you're going to have to move into that city. And then we typically help them with the research. So two of the top three things are focused on location, because we got to set the baseline at a point where they're going to be successful. Because if we got all this stuff on the algorithm working against us, no matter what juice or voodoo we throw at it, we're not getting very far, because Google's gonna be like, nah, doesn't work here. And most searches today, if you guys ever look in Google Search Console, they're near me searches. People don't search like service city as nearly as much as they used to. It's whatever the service is near me, in my area, around me. Well, Google's trained everybody to just search that way. So that triggers that local, very low, hyper local search results. And then the third thing is we do a mini rebranding exercise with clients, and we get a keyword, the primary keyword in the name. That one's been around for, I'm sure if some of you guys have listened to Joy Hawkins, Darren Shaw, and anyone that knows that focuses on the local game, they've talked about it. I have White Sparks 2023 survey in front of me, the local ranking factors survey. And that's like I think they actually had it listed number 2, but it could easily be number 1 because it has that like initial boost to a client to get that keyword in there.
So when you're putting the keyword in there, let's say it's like HVAC. So if it's like Tom's HVAC, is that enough, or are you going to the stint like Tom's HVAC contractors or Tom's HVAC company?
Yeah, so we would do something like and this is, you know, your industry and what keywords make sense for them, because these are great suggestions. It also makes you look like the authority when you come up with the name. So one of our tasks, and I just recently handed this one off to our head of SEO, but is to come up with a DBA name based on what we think is going to work best. So an example would be like Tom's heating and AC repair, or some variation of that. We don't typically use HVAC too much. We typically focus on AC repair, furnace repair, heating repair, things like that, because those keywords have a lot more volume for our clients.
Understood. So when you go to picking the location, you mentioned like, hey, let's find a spot that is going to be where our customers are, because we want to be near the ideal customer when they do those near me searches, right? Proximity is going to be the top ranking factor. So how are you guys setting up those locations? Is this a virtual office, or are you having these people get a lease on a new building, or like, how does that work?
Yeah, we tell them the thing that they don't want to hear, that they're going to have to get an office suite, a legitimate office suite. That's literally the conversation I referenced right before this. Somebody was reaching out to me because he had someone set him up with a PO box and another one, and it's a freaking mess right now. He's in like, his Google business profile is really suffering because they're not doing it the right way and they're getting suspended. And I know I've seen people say that you can do it, and there's a way to do it with virtual offices like those WeWork spaces or the Regis spaces. Honestly, I like having no problems later on, because when you get suspended 6 months down the line because you got away with something, client still looks at you as like, you told me to do this. Now it's your problem. You fix it. Instead of a joint discussion. In physical offices just work better. Once it gets verified, it is very rare, unless someone does something stupid, that's going to get suspended again. And if it does, we have all the paperwork. We have the lease. We have a utility bill. We put all that stuff on file in HubSpot. So that way, as soon as it's suspended, before the client even tells us, we already get it to our specialist and have a support ticket open so we can try to get it reinstated.
It makes a lot of sense. So these clients are keeping this office long-term then too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not
I
just
wouldn't,
get
I
it
would
for
say
the
most of them
verification.
probably don't have anyone working in them. So don't tell Google.
Right.
But this is the game. Google keeps changing the rules, and this is something that it would be very, very difficult for them to prove unless you had a really angry competitor that physically went to the office location and like tried to open the door and took a picture and tried to submit all this stuff. Most people don't have the time to do that
Or the knowledge.
or knowledge. They don't know like that I should do that. And then to sit and try to open a support ticket, they don't even know where to find the
Right.
information to support to send a ticket in.
Right. The verification process has changed quite a bit. You've mentioned like the different paperwork and stuff like this that you can use to remove suspensions. Can you just kind of give us a high level overview we're working with a legitimized business here. We've got the office. What does this look like?
Lease is number one, an actual signed lease with use the DBA name if you're going to use that strategy in there because you want to make sure that stuff matches. I would say get a utility bill. So they might have to have the lease for a couple weeks, get that first utility bill, where it's an internet bill, heating, cooling, whatever you have. Get a utility bill. Those would be the two big things. I think there's probably something else. We have a full guide that we put together that goes through the video verification process because video verification has been painful for everybody. Yeah. I mean, I miss the postcard method, but I also don't miss it because then spam was literally out of control. But for the legitimate people, it sucks because the video verification, sometimes Google's technology just does not work real well.
Right. You got to fight it and fight it and fight it. And then,
and then sometimes if you get on a live video call, the stuff that they ask you to do, I can't remember off the top of my head. There was some stuff like they actually wanted our clients to like get in because they would show like their truck parked at the office with the address and all this stuff. And they're like, get in the truck and start it. And I'm like, what? Like, how does it do anything to do with you? Like, just approve. Like, I'm showing you the things that say in your guidelines, I need to show you. But now you want me to start my truck and you want me to go do some random things or show me they wanted to show them logging into their FSM program. Like, man. It just depends on the rep you get. Just be prepared and we try to preemptively prepare clients for this stuff with like, if they ask you anything weird, just go along with it. Like, we don't know what they're going to ask you if you got a live video call. The video verification where it just goes to like either their AI, I'm assuming it's an AI that kind of reviews that. That is pretty straightforward. But if you have to escalate it to a live video call, just be prepared for some weird stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, who knows how they've arrived at these like requests at this point. There's been so many people trying to scam them for so long that
at the end of the day, it's a good thing for people who want to do things the right way, because it's a lot harder to get a fake listing up or a listing that maybe should be down. It's harder to get it down too. So you actually have to have proof, like real legitimate proof, which is good news for you if you're legitimate. If you're trying to do this to, like, we've had people do their technicians' houses as SABs and they put them all over town. They have like 6 of them, even though they're like $1 million business and they should probably only have one. And they think it's going to help them grow super fast, but then they don't know how to get reviews to all the listings, and they don't put pictures on all of them or posts or get citations and direct. They don't do all the right things. So they only grow the main one, and they're just kind of wasting these opportunities on these other listings.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's change gears for a minute here, because you've obviously a part of your growth was going deep into the Google Business Profile, as you said, getting great at something, right? That you can replicate again and again and be able to deliver results. It's really hard to grow if you don't have retention. It's hard to have retention if you don't have results. So it makes sense. Let's start with results. Let's do something great, and then we can scale from there. Let's talk about this growth. Josh, you're closing in on, I think the target for the end of this year is like 6.5 million ARR, right? So we're just about now at like 500K in MRR, right? So what has led to this? This is a big number for a lot of agency owners to see. And if you could kind of like go back and say, hey, here's the high level things that I've done that have resulted in this growth, I would love to hear that.
Yeah. One, getting known as an industry expert at something. I think that was the first initial thing that got us there. But as the company grows, like I had started the business and I worked full time for a year, and then I finally left the HVAC company I was at. So I've been doing this full time for about 4 years, 5 years in total. And we were at the point where it was just me. I had some help on like a white label service to like help fulfill some things because I couldn't do all the work myself. Um, and we got to the point where we were at like 60 or 70,000 MRR just with myself and an outsourced team. But at some point you need people, and hiring the right people and learning how to be able to delegate things and then also automate other tasks to keep yourself profitable, I think they're very overlooked. I think, let's say a plumber who starts a business is a really great plumber. They have no idea how to own a business. And then handing off the plumbing jobs to somebody else is really challenging for them because they're a great plumber. And the next person who they hire comes in, they might only be at 60 or 70% of the ability of the master plumber. And a lot of business owners, and same thing in the agency world with people who are really proficient in SEO or website builds or PPC or whatever, it's hard for them to hand those things off to other people. But and there's multiple books that have, like I just got done reading 10X is easier than 2X, Buy Back Your Time with Dan Martell references this. If somebody can do 80% or close to 80% of what you can do, and you don't love doing that thing, hand it off.
Yeah.
And so we've gotten to the point where literally I try to replace myself. I've replaced myself multiple times. I joked on stage. We got an award at the agency coaching group that we're part of last November. And I joked on stage that my special talent is getting fired because I keep getting fired from things. My wife will tell me, yeah, you're not the best fit for that. We need to hire someone.
Right.
Or one of my other team, it becomes really apparent. But if you want to get past the point where you're doing all the work and you're working 16-hour days, you are going to have to hire people, and you're going to have to trust them, and they may screw up, and that's okay, because you can always fix it. And sometimes you might have a client churn because of that. But at the end of the day, one thing I did that I didn't realize until after I read some of these books that I mentioned is my first VA I hired, I recorded everything I did. I used Loom, and I literally, like, every time he had to do something, I didn't just describe it in words to him or an email. I shot a video of me doing the task, what to think about, how I go about putting this stuff together. So that way he could reference that video over and over and over again. And then eventually, once we had an operations staff, we turned those things into SOPs and tweaked them and stuff like that. But if you record the things that you do and you can send them to someone else, you can train just about anyone to do anything. You just have to be willing to stop and realize, okay, this is something I can hand off because I don't like doing this. Record your process, hand it off to someone else, ask them to take it further. And I think that's been the biggest thing, because now we have 50, it's split between US team and contractors, but we have 53 team members total. And now they're all segmented into the departments and different things. And we can kind of go into what that looks like too for growth. But it's grown fast. Like, I feel I've literally just put up another hiring ad for a SEO strategy. I feel like every week I'm putting something up to get another team member.
How does your hiring work? Where do you hire from?
So US team, we have a platform that's actually built for the trades. So we made it work for us. It's called Who Hire, but it automates a lot of the hiring process. We were very close about a year ago to bringing on like an HR person, because going to Indeed and LinkedIn, all these places, and putting a job ad and then get all these resumes and trying to organize everything. And it was a mess.
It's a full-time job.
Oh, it's probably more than a full-time job. So we were going to find some, probably about $75,000 in annual salary. And I had this guy on our podcast, which is called Service Business Mastery. We focus on the same audience. It's a hiring platform so you put up the applications. They have API connections to Indeed, Monster, a couple job boards. The there's yes, no questions. If anyone answers a no question, they automatically get an email that says, sorry, you're not a good candidate, whatever. It's nicer than that. But if they answered yes to the first couple yes, no questions, they move on to whatever you want. And we do application questions next. So it's short or long form writing. So we usually try to get like, how are they thinking through problems based on their job? Then we move them to one-way video interview questions. And those things, all we have to do is go review them, thumbs up, thumbs down. And then the system either sends them an email that they're moving on to the next step. And here's the step. Or it's like a 6-hour delay. If we decline them, automatically says, hey, sorry, we went forward with other candidates. So the only point we really have to get involved for more than a couple minutes is the actual interview. But we know a ton about that candidate before we get there. And it's really helped us streamline. And then when you get into the interview, the applicant tracking system has everything there for you. So you have their resume, their answers to their questions, the one-way video, anything else that you put in there. You can just review it right there. You don't have to like cobble together a Google Drive or whatever people are doing these days. It's all right there.
Yeah, it sounds like it really streamlines the whole process, filters everything.
It saved us $75,000 and I pay like $800 a month. So
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah. Is this only for the United States or is this pulling people from all over the world?
You can go outside of the world or outside the US, but that's for our US hires. For our overseas, we have most of our contractors are in the Philippines, and it's been a mixed bag for us. We've gone to the online job boards. I also found, this was 3 years ago now, actually through an online jobs.ph, I found somebody who used to run a business process outsourcing company with her brother. The brother still owned it. We hired her, and now we get most of our virtual assistant talent through them. They already vetted everybody, and their talent's been really good to us. Outside of that, we have a couple other places that we source for. We are looking probably more some people in different areas of the world for like some appointment setting and stuff coming up here. Just because sometimes the language barrier it's not the best fit in that part of the world for people that have to get on camera and speak to US based people. They don't love that. So we try to keep them behind the scenes, which they've been great because they're all really good at processes, systems, SOPs, all the stuff I can't stand doing.
Right.
So they help build all that stuff, and we take really good care of them. We've had several of them that with the pay that they get from us, they're buying their parents' houses, or we've had a couple move outside of the Philippines because they wanted to get to a first world country to live. So we've had one move to Spain, one move to Australia. It's been pretty cool to see that.
It is cool.
It's a little different. Like you can really impact somebody's life over there a lot differently than you can stateside. Right. So it's really rewarding to see that because stateside sometimes, even if you take care of someone, they want to complain.
Yeah, there's a different like hunger level there.
Different culture. It is just very different culture. There's good and bad with both, but we have a nice mix, and our US team appreciates the Philippine team, and vice versa. There's a very nice mix between the two.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So let's go back a couple steps here. You talked about the first thing that you would do or that you did that was really effective in the growth was like positioning yourself as an industry expert. Let's unpack that. What does that mean?
So I've always been a really big fan of content marketing. It served me really well in the trades. And it also, and by that, I'm actually doing a webinar later today about local Facebook groups and what to post and what not to post and stuff like that. But I took that same, because again, Relentless was born because we helped people.
So let's talk about what that is. What is Relentless?
What, as far as
the company, you have a company called Relentless, right?
Yeah, that's our digital marketing company.
Okay.
Yeah,
we're referencing. I just want to make sure everybody's clear on what this is.
Yeah. So the name came about because honestly, it's a personality trait of myself. When I can't get an answer from someone, I'm going to go to the next person. I'm just going to keep going until I get the answer I need.
Yeah.
So we just don't give up. So literally, our first core value is be relentless. And we hire and fire based on those sorts of things because it's so important to bring people in that are like-minded, and all of our team communicate. Like, I mean, I don't know how many times you guys have heard this, but you get sales calls for yourself because The other agency, I put in a request and then I don't hear from anyone for a week or two. Things like that. And if you understand the problems that your niche has, you're able to fix those things and then lead with those problems in the sales call. So then people are like, oh, you got exactly what I'm looking for. And I think all too often we're so busy being busy that we don't think about things that way. So we don't craft a solution that actually is what our target market wants to have happen for them. So I think there's a lot to that.
So it's kind of like, instead of being like, hey, I'm a marketing agency and we offer this, it's like, here's where the problem exists for our ideal client. Let's become really good at that. And let's make sure that we're leading with that as a part of our sales process and solving that problem. They haven't seen a solution to this problem before.
Yeah. I mean, you just like you have Fireflies in here. I use Fathom. Record your sales calls and just ask those tools, what are the common problems that your contractors or your chiropractors or dentists, what are they facing? Like what drives them nuts about marketing agencies? Then make sure that you're really good at the things that they get driven nuts, and then talk about those things.
Yeah, I love that. It's simple, but it's powerful. It's really powerful to kind of like answer the questions and solve the problems that they actually have, and not like guessing at it. Have it come from their mouth, right? You guys position yourself with this. We're an industry expert. So we're doing this primarily through content marketing. The content that we're targeting is the problems that these companies have. In addition to content marketing, what other things have been really valuable for you guys in your growth?
If I ask my marketing and sales team, they would say me engaging in local Facebook groups, industry specific Facebook groups. There are certain things that I know some people like, they don't love doing that at all. Like they probably despise doing that, but it drives a ton of leads for us. One, because I have an opinion. Two, I understand their needs, so I can answer questions about things out like operational questions, sales questions, because I've gone through that training. But engaging in those Facebook groups and having a spine, like don't be afraid to go against the grain if you really believe that is something, because people will pay attention. They're like, I hear that all the time. Like, I love it. You're just a straight shooter. You tell us the truth no matter what. Like, let's be real. AI SEO or AEO or GEO or whatever acronym we're going to settle on here in the marketing industry is a thing. But core SEO principles still apply for 98% of that. But people are repackaging it as some special super secret sauce thing so they can get more sales. And I've battled some marketing agency owners who are pushing that stuff, and people respond and respect that stuff. Now, obviously, don't be rude and don't be a dick, but give your opinion. But in order to do that, you do have to be knowledgeable enough to do it. Like, don't speak on something you don't know, because you could look like an idiot.
Right.
But if it's something you're passionate about, speak up. Don't be afraid to speak up in those groups. And I very rarely ever try to push someone to book a call with us in any of those groups, unless somebody asks for the link. Like, hey, can I get a link to book with you? It's all value. If they're asking about what are the best marketing methods, I'm not going to say, oh, you should hire me, because that's what everyone else does. Oh, so-and-so is great. And they just keep tagging people. Same thing happens with contractors and local Facebook groups. Who's the best HVAC provider? Everyone just tags their friend or their husband or wife or whatever. Give value in those groups. Ask questions. And if anyone puts a dot or F or following, ask them a question, because they want answers to the same problem that somebody else already asked. And then there's other people that just turn on notifications for that post. So every time they see you pop up, they're going to realize that you have something valuable to say. But if you lead with what is the best thing for this person, legitimately the best thing, not for me, for them, you're going to have a lot of success in that. And it does take time. But our marketing spend as a percentage of our revenue, when I looked last, was about 4.5%, which is pretty low for a marketing agency because of all the events you got to go to, the ads, all the other stuff that you got to throw out there. So it's helped us become very profitable, because I don't have to spend a lot of money on going to get more customers or going to get more leads.
Right. Yeah. And you've got kind of like a steady flow that is just like always coming from past posts, and you have the ability to easily influence. Google can change the cost per click overnight, right? And Facebook can change the cost per click overnight. They get like, hey, it was $2 for a lead, now it's $10 for a lead, or it was $10, now it's 100. But if you're interacting in this kind of, the Facebook groups almost have like an organic nature to them where it's not associated with that. And it seems like an easier way to scale when you kind of control the dynamics a little bit more than you would with relying on paid media.
It's a great place to learn. What is your perfect target market talking about? What do they care about? What are their problems? And then read the comments. Like, I think sometimes, and again, some of this it's a little easier for me to say now because we're at a point where I've replaced myself in other positions, so I don't have to put together processes or click buttons on a WordPress website. I can focus on growth. But if you spent even just 15 minutes a day, find some groups, search for them on Facebook, just start trying to get in some of these groups, and don't sell, lead with value. I would say that, like, a real short, succinct tip, and just learn. Just like if it's a target market you really want to go after, just absorb everything. Like, so that way you learn the actual problems of these businesses, because then you can better speak to it. And then when you put your post out there on your personal page, after you get some people to follow you, it starts resonating differently when you're using the same language. You're not just talking about impressions or clicks, because your business, your clients don't care. They want phone calls, leads, people that are going to buy.
They've selected not to have that knowledge set, right? They're like, we chose not to be an SEO expert. So when you come at them with like SEO terms, they're immediately tuned out.
They have no idea. That's the next post. Like, they don't have any idea what that means. That's the one nice thing about the heat maps, is the heat maps, it's something cool to look at. So those usually do get quite a few views. And honestly, if you're just starting out and you're listening to this, do some work for free. Literally learn enough so you actually can move the needle, but do some work for free and then take before and afters and just use those. I think that's an Alex Hermosi thing. I've done that in the past too, and told other people to do the same thing. Just, you don't always have to have a paying client. Sometimes you got to get some case studies and proof of concept before you can go sell it.
Yeah, 100%. And it's hard to sell on something if you're not sure that you can deliver on it. And if you've got to start.
Yeah, it's a lot easier for someone to forgive you for free than it is if you're paying them $1,000 or a couple $1,000 a month, and then you still don't know what you're doing, and they're paying for your on-the-job training.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Josh, what would you tell yourself if you could go back, 3 or 4 years? Some of the biggest light bulb moments that you've had, where after you realize this, nothing else was the same. So, is there a way we can install that into someone else that's on their journey? Some of those key moments for you.
I think my key moments all come back to offloading stuff from my plate faster. I didn't hire an EA, an executive assistant, until about a year ago. I would have probably done that 3 or 4 years ago immediately. Someone to manage my emails, my calendar, my tasks, just to keep me focused and organized so I could focus on the things I needed to do, growing the company. Because literally every day, at the end of the day, my EA will send me tomorrow's schedule, important things in my inbox, important things in ClickUp, like things that I have to do. And she rates them on a 1 to 3 scale. 3 is like, you need to look at this like today. 2 is as soon as you can. 1 is when you get to it. So I don't have to sit there and keep my email open all day. And like every time an email comes in, stop what I'm doing. I would say that would be a big one. And then as soon as you have the money to do it, hire an operations focused person, someone to build SOPs, repeatable processes, organize the business from an administrative perspective, because that person's worth their weight in gold. You're going to be bouncing all over the place, because most entrepreneurs have some form of ADD, ADHD. They just can't sit still. We think of a million different ideas. Hire someone that isn't that way. They're good at project work and focusing and delivering things. Those are probably the 2 biggest things I would have done much sooner. before trying to do it myself and save money, because those things will allow you to get in your zone of genius, whatever that is.
Yeah, absolutely. Great answers. We're coming to the end of our time here. Really appreciate it. This has been amazing. Anything you want to leave our listeners with, final pieces of advice?
I don't know if I have anything specific. I think it's a little cliche, but you really need to know your why and why you're doing this. Because if you don't know what you're trying to accomplish, you're just going to probably hate the work that you do.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why, know what that is. Your life, as you grow as an agency and you're profitable, your life's going to get better. But then at that point, like, what are you going to focus on? Why are you doing this? Do you want to do this to free up your time for more, more family time, better health, better wealth? Like, what are things that move you? Like, it's been a journey for us. Like, when I started this company, I wasn't the healthiest version of myself. I've been on a very deep, the last 2.5 years now, focusing on my health. It's part of the reason we moved from Wisconsin to Arizona and get some more sunshine, no snow, no ice, so we can actually get out in the winter. And now you start getting the balance of the health, the wealth, being able to travel, being able to enjoy life a little bit more. Because otherwise, if you don't replace yourself and you don't focus on those things, life is a grind. You're going to end up probably by yourself, because agency life never quits. Someone's always got a problem. There's always something breaking. Google doesn't play by the rules that they set.
They change the rules.
They're going to change the rules, and you're just going to be miserable. Yep. So you got to find something outside of sitting in front of a computer for 10, 12, 14 hours a day. Get up, go walk. It's one of the best things. Like, we literally walk in the morning, every morning with my wife, clears our head, gets us focused for the day. Just little things like that. Just set aside your calendar, own your calendar, not let your calendar be dictated by clients and prospects and everybody else that wants to eat it up. Block time. I got a lot of little tips. Sorry, I'm like going off, like,
no, this is fantastic.
Just shooting off the top of my head. So hopefully,
keep rolling, man. This is great.
Some of this stuff was valuable, but like, block time in your calendar, make things a priority. Like, if your kids' soccer games are on the schedule, it needs to be a priority. If you want to work out and you want to take walks, put it in your calendar. You can mask it as something else. My wife and I did something. We don't do it anymore because our team knows, but we used to call it RC time, rocking chair time. Just literally just came up with this weird. I don't even know how we came up with it, but the whole purpose was like, just for us to get out, walk, and talk business, talk kids, talk family, talk plans, travel, whatever, but it just gives us a break so we can actually get out outside of Slack and email and everything else that's going on.
The idea of like using your calendar to set your priorities, even if your priorities are outside of business, right? If like, this has been really eye-opening for me, was this, you can spend a lot of time trying to climb the ladder and realize that it's leaning against the wrong wall, right? If you don't take the time to be intentional about what you want and where you want to go, how do you know if your actions are leading you in that way, right? And if your wife or significant other is a priority, she should be on the calendar, because that's what dictates your time. And that was a big learning lesson for me, Josh, is like, I was doing a lot of meetings that I thought I had to do. And it was just kind of like I looked at the calendar and I said, these are not the most important things for me, but this is where my time is going. So like, okay.
I would say there's an ebb and a flow to that, right? Because like, I'll do really good for a short period of time of saying no to a lot of things. And then I travel for an event. And all of a sudden I tell my EA while I'm going, just book it on the calendar, and all of a sudden my next week is like gone. What happened? Like today is one of those days, like boom, 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 boom. Some of these things I want to do, like this podcast and giving back. Others are like, I can probably waited on that one. So don't be afraid to say no. You're not an asshole if you say no to somebody. It's okay. If it is not like, everyone gets reached out to by everyone about all these cold outreach saying, oh, we'll partner with this, or we can help you with this. We got a new technology tool that you really should take a look at and do a demo. If it is not solving a problem today, kick it down, kick the can, because focus on the things important right in front of you. Things that are 3 months or 6 months down the line, they'll be there when they're there. Like, don't worry about those problems right now.
Solve them in the right order.
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent.
100%.
Excellent. Josh, this is amazing, man. Thank you so much for coming on here and sharing this stuff. Great episode. I like this is one of the coolest things about running these podcasts is I learned so much from the guests like you today. So I really appreciate
I do the same thing. It's like networking on steroids. Like, honestly, I am the best buyer from our podcast because people come on and I'm like, oh, yes, I need that. Sign me up, do a demo. Like, I do that all the time, and I'm, probably not a good thing, but like, if it solves a problem, it's like, yeah, I need that. Who hires, like, the hiring thing? I would have never known that existed if we didn't have some place where people come on and share that information and solve a problem that I needed to solve.
Honestly, when you were telling me that, I was like, I'm going to go check that out myself. So